So it's a cold fall day. I've been working all day. This is a Saturday. I helped my friend put in a couple windows this morning and had a drywall repair job and a deck repair job today. It's about 3 o'clock, so I've been at it, I don't know, a good part of the day. So as I had mentioned in my last video, I need to get that far wall framed up, and then I can install my sub panel box. And once I get power out there, it's gonna be a lot more convenient. I could drag extension cords over to that building and run my saws and things like that, and have lights in there. But I'd rather get that sub panel in there and just gotta have the convenience of the power. So that's something I'm working on right now. Running over to Home Depot to get the lumber to do that, and hopefully some of these, I do all this work, the construction type work I do on this side. I work at a wastewater treatment plant as an operator, so I'm pretty busy with that, on top of always messing around with these side jobs. I kind of wish some other people would get into this type of work, only to take some of the burden off from all of us who have been doing this. I know they've really pushed college on kids, and it's not really helping anybody. There's tons of work out there. I make thousands of dollars a year just doing this on the side. I don't know, if people wanted a different career path, I would certainly suggest getting into some sort of trade or doing just the general carpentry, electric, plumbing stuff that I do on the side. I have a little business where I'm licensed and insured, and it doesn't take much to get good at this stuff. Do a job, you mess it up, just do better the next time. You know, just be fair with people, and you know, I think the biggest thing right now is just showing up. There's just contractors, people can't get people to show up. Contractors, I don't know how they continue to get business when they, you know, basically just blow people off, but somehow they make it. So I'm heading into Home Depot here to get the lumber, and hopefully I can have an opportunity to work on my own stuff here. So whenever I go to the store, I try to get as many things as possible. Just try to make one trip. The door I unloaded is for our entry door. We're gonna be putting that in a little bit later. This is all wood that I got from Home Depot that I'm gonna be using to frame in a basement this weekend. And this little bit of material is what I'm gonna be using to build this wall. Try to get that framed in the next couple days, and then I'll be putting in the sub panel. Okay, I have everything set up to get framing. I have my top and bottom plate laid out here, all except for a little section here at the end. And this wall is gonna go from that end right up to this conduit, a little bit before this conduit, so that electrical panel will fit in. For those of you that aren't familiar with framing, I'm going to be laying these studs out 16 inches on center, and I'll show you how to do that. Once I get everything laid out, I'm going to cut some studs to 111 inches long. That'll put me about 6 inches from the top, and I'll be able to get another top plate that'll tie everything together. So to lay out where the studs are going to go, we're going to go 16 inches on center, which means wherever you have a stud, the center of each stud is gonna be 16 inches between the two. So we have our top plate and our bottom plate lined up perfectly even. The bottom plate is pressure treated because it's going to go against the concrete, and and concrete soaks up moisture, so we wanna make sure that we have something that's gonna stand up to the moisture. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull off from the edge, and we're gonna make a mark at 16, and we're gonna put an X just ahead of it. And what that means is The studs are 1.5 inches wide. They call them 2x4s, but they're actually 1.5 inches wide. So what that means is, if you take 1.5 inches space from the end, and you take the space where you're gonna have a stud, which is 16, you start at 16, go to 17.5. If you bring that to approximately the middle, you notice that it's 16 inches on center. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull off from the end, make a mark 16 ahead, 16, put an X ahead, come over to 32, put an X ahead, and so on, 16 inches, every 16 inches. Take your square and mark, draw a line across, so then you have made a mark on your top plate and your bottom plate, and put an X on the bottom. Put an X on the bottom plate as well. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna take this bottom plate and we're gonna set it up, and we're gonna take the top plate and go set it up on end. We're gonna set our studs in the middle, and wherever there's an X, we're gonna put a stud, and then that's where we're gonna nail them together to build our wall. Something I forgot to mention, if you look at the red numbers on your tape measure, those actually show you where every 16 inches is. So 64. So if you pull off from the end, you just put a mark by every red number and put an X right in front of it. That'll give you your 16 inches on center. So I'm gonna put these boards up on end, keeping in mind we don't wanna pick one up and move it around or anything, because we have everything laid out exactly where we want it. Everything's pretty much symmetrical from the top to the bottom. So I'm gonna pick this up, set it on end, put my other board up, put it on end, and that way all of my X's line up. I've ran out of room with the saw here, but I can go ahead and get that first part nailed up, and then we'll do something with the saw, get this out of the way. I'm going to cut my studs to 111 inches, and every board, regardless of how straight it is, has a little bit of a crown, and it's just the natural way that a tree grows. And so on a board, you'll notice it either kind of crowns up one way or it crowns the other way. And so whenever you see people at the hardware store or Lowe's or Home Depot looking down the board, they're looking for kind of the arch in the board. So this part, or this side, has the crown up. So it doesn't matter if it crowns up or whichever way it crowns. You just want to make sure that when you build your wall, all of your crowns go the same way. So when you set them in place, do you want them all crown up, or do you want them all, crown down? So there's no right way, but you should have them all going the same direction. So I'm going to put all my studs in crown up so I can see the natural curve going on this side. So if you were building, so maybe you can kind of see going across the floor. The floor is pretty flat, and you can see how there's that space underneath where it kind of arcs. So that's the crown up. You'll also notice how I didn't trap myself against the wall. I left myself a little bit of room because I'm gonna have to nail these together. So if you're building a wall in a basement or anything like that, this is gonna be the same procedure. Pressure treated board on the bottom, so it goes against the cement to protect any unpressure treated wood. And all we're gonna do is line up our stud on our line to make sure that you don't have a board going one way or the other. You can just line it up with your line, and then you know your stud is square to your base plate. So these nail guns make framing a whole lot easier. I had a pneumatic nailer that I got from Harbor Freight, and it served me well for a long time. I ended up buying this Paslode gun. It's about $300, worth every penny. So if you do a lot of construction projects around your house, maybe you want to invest in a pneumatic nailer, where you have your air compressor, air hose, and a nailer. Harbor Freight, they're not that expensive. This thing, like I said, it's worth every penny. If you're not gonna do a whole lot, I would just suggest nailing things together. I wouldn't use screws because screws don't have the shear strength of nails, so you definitely wanna make sure that you use nails. And I also wanna give everybody one tip. I've seen even professional framers do this. What they'll do is they'll line up their board and they will hold their hand right here and they'll shoot a nail in. And a lot of people have gotten hurt because what they'll do is they'll shoot in, but look how long these nails are, they're 3 inches. So if they shoot it all, they'll run into your hand. So I've gotten the habit of holding my hand back a ways and then shooting a nail in. So if you ever see people on construction sites, maybe not paying attention, maybe they'll just be throwing things together real fast, grab close and then shoot a nail in there. So for all you do-it-yourselfers at home, I wouldn't even make the mistakes that some of the pros make and hold your hand here. Get your hand back out of the way, because this is actually a firearm. It's literally a gun shooting nails. And you'll notice throughout this whole instruction for the last couple minutes, I never blamed the gun once. I blame the person using it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get all these other studs put in. I don't know how well you can see it, but this board needs to come back a little ways because my line's straight and then this board's off a little bit. So all I did is tack one nail in, and then I can sit there and manipulate the board and get it perfectly straight. I've got my first section of wall up, and to get it up, all I did is take the bracing off, set the wall into place, and then put the bracing back on. It didn't affect anything with the building. Obviously the building didn't move or anything. So what I'm gonna do next is take the next 3 braces off, and I'm gonna get this wall stood up right here, and then put the bracing back in place. So I pieced these walls together so I didn't have to take off all the braces at once. I'm gonna go ahead and put in a couple of scat pieces here to tie these together. And then I'll finish putting up this little wall. And I'm gonna try to figure out what I'm gonna do around this door. To frame in that sub panel, I'm gonna make my bottom and top plates like I did before. The only difference is gonna be, I'm actually gonna have to cut out that pressure treated part of the wood to get around this conduit. And then I'll just put my studs such that they'll be on either side of the sub panel. So I've got a good start to the framing. In the next video, I'm gonna frame it around this door and frame it around the sub panel. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos of framing the building. Thanks.